Hey everybody, how you doing? I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Let me get this chat up here. Thought I had it. Okay, before anybody gets all panicky, this isn't going to be a political show. This has got zip to do with politics. Tonight we're going to be talking about something that's actually has a serious effect on a serious effect on people all over the world, but it has an even greater effect on people who are seeking connection. This is a mindset. The concept of canceling is relatively new in this country, and in a great many ways, it kind of flies in the face of almost everything that we believe in as a country. It's a pretty bizarre practice. You know, there was a time when you talked about canceling, it was a newspaper subscription, or it was a magazine, or if a television show was awful, it might get canceled at the end of the season. Now this is, good Lord, there's a bee in this place, man. A yellow jacket in my office. All right. I'm wickedly allergic to them, unfortunately, but maybe he'll just chill out on that light. No squirrel? No. All right, peeps. Hold on one second. I'll give me a second, people. Hey, how are you? All right, sorry, but peeps, I'll show you this thing when I get it. This is the biggest thing you've ever seen. It looks like a baseball with wings. It's a squirrel. Get away from that. Squirrel, get away from that. Get. Crazy animal. Damn crazy animal. Squirrel, no. Squirrel, go. No. Good God, squirrel. Oh, that's beautiful. Now I got no idea where it is. Whoa. All right. Sorry, people. It's not my most professional work here on the lifeboat, but a little freaked out by those things. I'm really sorry. I have no idea where it is, but Squirrel will probably find it. So I'm really sorry. So this concept of being canceled is something that's relatively new in this country. This is not something that's been around for a long period of time. And if you look back on the history of the United States, the time that most historians will tell you was the most rugged was 1968, right? This was the year that all of the assassinations took place, and the world, and especially the United States, was really in a world of hurt. That's when all of the race riots were going on in Watts, and Detroit got almost torched to the ground. It was a pretty rugged time in our country. And at that time, there was probably about as divided as the country has ever been. But when 2020 rolled around, we saw it worse, right? We had this stupid C+ math thing that was destroying every economy across the planet. It was just starting to really, really roll. And you had the president of the United States getting impeached, and there is that big damn thing. Squirrel, get away from there. Come here. Come here, squirrel. You know what, peeps? I really have got to do something. I'm sorry. Lord, mighty squirrel. Get away from there. Get away from there. Get away from there. Get away from there. Oh, no, you don't. Get back here. Get back here. All right. Lest you think, whoa, you got to be kidding. That is the most rugged thing in the entire world. This just continues to fly. Hey, look at that, people. Oh, nice. Gives you an idea, though. Look at the size of that guy. Unbelievable. Sorry, people. I'm deathly allergic to those. So I'm terribly sorry. I really am. Squirrel is so mad at me, you cannot imagine. She wanted to eat that thing. I'm telling you, see the size of that? It was absolutely ridiculous. It really was. All right, so 2020, we had racial unrest. The whole George Floyd thing was going on. The inflation was just completely off of the hook. It just got ugly, and it probably got uglier in 2020 than it was in 1968. Never has this country been more divided in any way. And it looked like, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you came down on anything. The people who disagreed were instantly the enemy. And they did everything within their power to paint it as black and white and all kinds of other stuff that just really kind of unraveled this country a bit. And if you think that's political, I'm sorry, but it's, no one can argue that 2020 wasn't rugged, right? But I'm not bringing it up for the purpose of politics. When all of this was going on and it was just completely ugly, there was a pastor in Birmingham, Alabama. And Birmingham, Alabama got hit hard when all of this was going on. I mean, there's a very diverse racial divide down there. And it was just sort of getting ugly. But this pastor by the name of, I looked this guy up today, and it's absolutely fascinating. His name is Chris Hodges. Pastor Chris Hodges, and he was doing, in the midst of all of this, when things were just really, really ugly, this cat was doing everything within his power to bring people together. So he was taking care of the less privileged, right? Marginalized groups of people, I think they call them, and people that were people that are homeless, people that are on drugs, black, white, completely just doing a beautiful job of bringing people together. When that C+ math thing was raging, his church was making masks and giving them out. When the economy took a crash and people were, most people weren't going to work, and these people fed 10,000 meals to homeless people. Like, this cat was going so far out of his way, and everything he was doing was growing. They had to rent, they had to rent 2 extra facilities, which they did from the Board of Education. Yeah, good girl. They also had to go to 3 different groups of people to get extra land plots because of all the things that they were doing to help people. Really a phenomenal guy and an incredible story. And when the medical condition of a lot of these people started to go off the charts and things started really going bad, they created a center for people who couldn't afford medical care. People that couldn't do insurance, couldn't do anything, the poorest of the poor, they took care of. And it was all free based on what this pastor was doing. Really kind of an amazing story. Sadly, he was on Instagram and he read comments that people were making about what was going on in the world. And I'm not going to read the comments because I don't want to get political. I really don't. But it's tame. The things that I say on here would get me canceled 6,000 times worse. But what happened is, nothing offensive. He just said, I like this guy's content, or I like this guy's content. I'm 3 times. And a school teacher from Birmingham, Alabama, she teaches English, I think, an English teacher. Anyway, she takes a picture of this preacher and then has the likes of what people he's following and who he likes. And the entire thing, everything that this cat did that was beautiful, got unraveled because he liked 3 different mainstream political pundits. Regardless of what side of the aisle that's on, that's just disgusting. Let me tell you how bad it got. So these, the school agencies and all of the people renting him all of these properties, right? Pull the plug instantly. You're no longer having any overflow here. You're not going to be able to, to help these people in this building. They were renting one piece of property for $850,000 a year. It got yanked the next day. They didn't say, you've got 30 days to vacate the premises. They said, your contract's done. You got to be out. Move. Because he hit like 3 times on different people who, if I told you who they were, you'd go, you got to be kidding. I mean, we're not talking no offense to anybody, but not Alex Jones and sort of the fringe stuff. These are mainstream political pundits. And the guy just happened to follow and hit like 3 times. And this woman said a quote that you're not going to believe, right? When they asked her about what happened to this guy, because I'm only telling you the beginning of it. But when they went to her and said, hey, are you bummed out at all about what's happening to him? Because the guy's really taking a beating. She said, and I quote, I would be upset if it comes off as me judging him, because I'm not. I'm not saying he's a racist. He just likes things that seem to me to be insensitive socially. And that's the end. The church that he built, right, that was taking all of these people in. It was a division of Christ Church. Christ Church said, you guys are done. Out. So because they thought that his leanings might be in one direction or another, and the funny thing is the leanings they think make him a racist type individual or whatever, which is just ironic. But what ended up happening is the man literally lost every single thing that he had built. And the poor people in that town got nowhere else to go. The medical care, it's done. Drug counseling, all of the things that this guy was doing is done. Because he hit like on 3 posts. If you're wondering, what has this got to do with sobriety? Please tell me you're kidding. If the opposite of addiction is connection, then the opposite of connection is cancellation. The idea that you can just say, you know what? You're done. We're going to deplatform you. Right? We're going to shame the ever-loving crap out of you. And we're going to make sure we are going to go out of our way to make sure that you will never be heard from again, that your opinion is now absolutely worthless. Right? That's it. You went from being somebody that people respect, somebody that was really changing an entire city, to being someone that people who have no idea who this person is are yelling racist at him at the top of his lungs and getting death threats, and end up losing everything that you built your entire life, that you built for other people, right? It's a pretty sick concept. It really is. And when this cancel crap happens, there's no real definition for cancel culture. If you asked 50 people what cancel culture was, you'd probably get some really serious varying answers. Obviously, it means that you're going to try to get rid of somebody. But where it gets really dicey is, where's the rules for any of this stuff? You literally don't know the rules until you break them. There's no guidelines. There's no anything that makes any sense. So you've got people who are absolutely terrified of what cancel culture means. There's a woman named Marie Purdy, and she's an artist, right? Here's one that you may not have heard before because I hadn't, but she was accused as an artist of plagiarizing. I guess to me, all art is like a copy of some other kind of art. But anyway, they said that hers was too close to someone else's stuff. And so she came out and said, if there's any, you know what, you see things your entire life. I don't know, maybe I glanced at it. She gave a very nice apology and said, but I assure you, I wasn't, trying to copy anything, blah, 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 whether whatever it was. But 100 or so people on Instagram just started beating on the woman. Man, you steal people's stuff, start calling their names, cursing, and pretty soon it's viral. And there's 1 million people who are all yelling at this poor artist that has absolutely no idea what she's done. She said that she had survived 5 miscarriages and breast cancer, but that the worst thing that had ever happened to her in her life was people trying to cancel her. It is probably the most disrespectful thing that you can do to a human being in the times that we're living in. Canceling. Your point, no longer valid. We don't want to hear from you. It's over. It's done. You hear me? Done. Go away. You're irrelevant. And whatever you've done in your life is now gone, because that's canceled too. We're going to cancel your past. We're going to cancel your future. And we're going to make today a living hell. If you don't see where that erodes at the fabric of everything we got going on, I think of cancel culture. And I think of it as the opposite of connection. And I think that connection is the opposite of addiction. I think of Flamin' Jackson, if you really want to know the truth. I do. I think of Flamin' Jackson. Because if the mindset that makes people cancel anything, I think he's the antidote. The man loves everybody. And he lets everybody know that he loves them. I challenge you to be in the live feed with Flamin' Jackson and not feel better about who you are and where you are. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's a beautiful thing. And sadly, what we've got going on right now erodes that, because all of a sudden, everybody's terrified. You say the wrong thing to the wrong person, right? It doesn't have to be any of the things that people say it is, because the rules today and the rules tomorrow are two completely different things. Tomorrow, things that you can say right now, you may not be able to say. And when it starts, you get this, first it starts off with this like horrendous public humiliation. It's like a 3-part deal. You get this humiliation where everybody just starts tweeting at you and emailing at you, and everybody's just talking about, how awful a human being you are and whether your parents were married when they gave birth. And it just ugliness upon ugliness upon ugliness. And the second is you are absolutely browbeaten and worked over to confess and apologize, right? You got to come out and say, oh, I was insensitive for saying what I said. And the reason is because I'm just a low-life pig and I'm on this side of the political aisle, but I'm going to change that. They want you to come out and they want you to gravel. And then they just want a big, long, huge apology. And if you give it to them, then they'll remove you from society. Complete and utter remove from public life. Fired, harassed, and even, attacked physically. The kind of stuff that happens to these people is frightening. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's absolutely frightening. So I start looking into this thing and I start reading some of the reasons that people have been canceled, right? And before anybody goes, well, it's every time that anybody cancels, it's a right-wing thing. A left-wing thing. McCarthyism. Like when I start going back and looking through the whole concept of this, I think McCarthyism was probably the first really raging cancel culture, right? They went into Hollywood and said, all of you are commies. You can never work again. So this crap fell on both sides of the aisle, to be sure. It seems like it's leaning in one direction right now. I'd be a liar if I said that I didn't feel that way. But I started looking at some of the people that have been canceled, some of the reasons they've been canceled, and it started to, it's a rabbit hole. Right? It's one of those things that, because the number of people that have been canceled was ridiculous. I mean, there are dozens and dozens of names, so you'd go, oh my God. Or if you didn't know the name, you most assuredly would know the face. But I went through and started reading all of the different articles on why these people got canceled, why their ticket got pulled, and they were no longer relevant in anything social media or otherwise. You can't go and talk to people in public. They boo you if you show up at Starbucks. That's the kind of hate that this engenders in people. Once that cancel starts, there's no going back, and it just becomes more hideous by the day. So let's go over some really famous people that have at least have been attempted. And it's a very interesting case study, and I'm going to say something at the end that ties all of this in. But J.K. Rowling, you know who J.K. Rowling is? Okay, she was the woman that wrote the Harry Potter stories, and one of the great success stories of all time. She started writing Harry Potter on like napkins, literally. This woman was on government assistance, trying to raise her family, a single mom. And she wrote her way to being a billionaire. And every single kid of, a certain time frame, and most of their parents, and every single person that's ever been to prison has read all of the Harry Potter books, right? And she's just a beloved person. It's been a beloved story. But she had the audacity to come out and say that she was kind of offended when people refused to use the word woman when talking about her. The new one apparently is considerably more offensive. As opposed to woman, it's people who menstruate. And she wrote in the news, in a magazine article that it's ridiculous. And then she stepped out even further in defense of women. And she just said, I don't like the direction that things are going with what's happening with women. I think in women's sports, maybe they shouldn't let a 6'5" tall guy in there. Whatever you believe. But is that worth destroying somebody's life over? Because boy, they've tried. Like they have entire acronyms and stuff that are made up specifically for her kind of hate. And the three of the people that she made as famous as anybody in the world and as wealthy as most, right? The characters from that from Harry Potter just crucified her immediately. Buried hatchets in her back. Fortunately, and I'll get back to her. Fortunately, it didn't work. Right? She didn't get canceled, which is lovely, and a bit of a recurring theme in some of the things that I'm talking about. But Dr. Seuss got canceled. He's not diverse enough, right? They think Dr. Seuss is prejudice. I gotta ask myself, has any of them ever read Dr. Seuss? For real. I hope somebody sees this that knows what I'm talking about. He wrote a story called The Sneetches. I don't know if you're familiar with this. The story is called The Sneetches. And the story has these little, how Dr. Seuss creatures are all kind of shaped in one of three directions. They're either really thin or one looks like a pear. You know what I'm talking about? Well, the Sneetches kind of look like pears with little arms, and they've got the little furry head, type setup that Dr. Seuss normally rocks. And they all look almost identical. But there's a small number of Sneetches in the community that have stars on their stomach. And the ones that don't are really jealous of the whole star thing. And a guy comes to town with one of those great fangled machines. And for $1, you could jump into the machine and you pop out on the other side and you would have a star. Because they had stars upon stars and they wanted it anyway. If you read that story and you don't understand that Dr. Seuss is giving you a lecture on inclusivity, giving you a lecture on what it means to be a racist, for real, if you don't get that when you read it, with all due respect, there's something wrong. You know what I mean? If people don't get that, maybe the dope did damage. You know what I'm saying? For real, it's the most glaring, in your face, but beautiful way to introduce that concept to kids, but not anymore because they're canceling him. And it started at Seuss Publishing. The people that publish his books canceled him. So now half of the stories from Seuss that we grew up with, I hope you hold on to, because if not, the next generation of kids are not going to read it, which is just absolutely staggering. Right? It really is. It's staggering. Then there's a guy named Chris Harrison. You got to remember Chris Harrison. So they had that show, what's it called? Bachelor. 20 seasons this cat hosted The Bachelor, Bachelorette, like that whole setup, right? 20 seasons, right? He's an icon. Do you know what he did wrong? He didn't say a word. No, nothing. Nothing came out of this man's mouth to be canceled. He went to a party that somebody threw, and it was called an antebellum South party. Guys show up wearing, ruffles on the end of the shirt sleeves, and, it's like a costume party from early America. But if you go to one of those, you're a racist piece of crap, according to a whole group of people. And this guy went out and did exactly what they want you to do in phase 2. They want you to grovel. They want you to beg for forgiveness, and they want you to admit whatever it is they're canceling you for. I am wickedly insensitive, and I need to take some diversity classes, right? And all of that. And then they eliminate you. You're fired. You're never heard from again, and nobody will touch you in Hollywood. You're canceled. You're not relevant anymore. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter how successful you were. It's over. Boom. And it happened to him in a very, very big way. Maybe the worst. And the last guy I want to talk about is Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan, they took a shot at. You're familiar with that thing that we don't talk about here that starts with the letter V, and I don't mean Miss V. It starts with the letter V. You can jam that thing in there. Okay. Well, that that thing that they were giving people to take care of the C plus math. I would like at least 4 or 5 people to see this, so I'm not going to. But you know what I'm talking about. He was not anti, science and all of the things that he was accused of. He just said, seems like we're rushing into this. And Spotify, who carries his, $100 million contract or whatever, right, with his podcast. He makes an unbelievable amount of money. And do you know why? Because he's worth it. The dude's great. Seriously, Rogan does one of the best interviews ever, but he is opinionated, and he's going to let you know what his opinion is. He doesn't go out of his way to offend anybody. But boy, were they offended by this. So artists who were on Spotify said, we're not going to let you sell our stuff if you deal with this Joe Rogan dude, which is a difficult thing to wrap your brain around. What's a harder thing to wrap your brain around is that 2 of the biggest artists that were going against him were Neil Young and Joni Mitchell. I started off this by saying 68 was one of the worst years in the history of the U.S. Do you know who 2 of the most vocal people in the world were at that time on the planet? Neil Young and Joni Mitchell. But you can't do that anymore. We can't connect anymore. You understand? Connection isn't always going up to somebody and saying, I agree with everything you say. You're the best. Seriously, I'd like to hang out with you. You can come home and date my sister. That's not the idea. The idea is that you connect. So there are going to be times that the person you're talking to says, you know what? That's a really bad idea. Or I disagree. Like, I seriously disagree. Let me tell you why. When those people split and go in their opposite directions, they're better people, both of them. And this went on since the dawn of man, since we stopped hitting each other with rocks. The back and forth, the disagreement, the enlightenment, all of the things that happen when people actually have a freaking dialogue. But they're moving the goalpost. Picture a drunk driver, right? Blowing 3.8 on the breathalyzer. Going down the road doing this number. You just got to do everything you can to jump out of its way because you got no idea where it's going to be tomorrow. So why are there people on this list that no matter what they do, no matter how much they take a run at these people, they don't get canceled? You can hate T-Man, but they have thrown everything but an atomic bomb at that man. And you know why he's not gone? Because he doesn't put up with it. The people on this list that are not canceled didn't come out and do that grovel thing. I'm not coming out and telling you that I'm wrong. I'm not. You people are nuts. I'm sorry. What you're saying is absolutely bizarre. I caught crap recently for my stance on 8-year-olds getting sex changes. People gave me some hate you wouldn't believe. But guess what? Beat it. Honestly. Don't agree, no big deal. If I'm not offensive, leave. But you ain't canceling me because I'm not going to stop coming here and doing this, and I'm not going to apologize. It's amazing to me, right? And I'll tell you something. If you've been around the boat for any length of time, they took a shot. They did everything they could to cancel us, me and my brother. Took a run. But we didn't do anything wrong. You really don't have to. They'll grab a straw and they'll run with that thing. They will do any single thing they can. Give them this much rope. Give them no rope. They're just going to latch on because this is the new form of tough. For real. I'm not going to debate you. We're not going to sit down and have words where we're going to see which one of us has a better idea. We're actually going to hash this out. Someone's going to walk away a winner and someone's going to walk away a loser. We're going to meet on the field of ideas. They go, oh, no. That's not happening. That's not happening at all. You called a girlfriend of yours chick. I heard you. That may not be cancelable, but it might be in a couple of weeks. This is the opposite of connection. It makes people afraid to talk to one another. It makes people afraid to sit down and have a legitimate, no joke conversation. There are people who we try to cancel. They end up canceled and they end up richer because they're canceled. Colin Kaepernick is a pretty unique example. Guy can't get a job in the NFL no matter what he does, but Nike will give him $20 million a year. And that's one of a host of companies that throw cash at him. He was man of the year. On the bright side, at least he was a man, right? It's always better when man of the year is won by a man. Just saying. I don't know. You know what I mean? People, you can disagree with anything I say. You can. As long as you're respectful about it, I don't care if anybody, I'll end up better off if I talk to somebody that disagrees with me from time to time. And I do. There are people on this boat who disagree with things I say often, but are so damn respectful with how they come and explain to me their point of view that we get closer. That's the gospel truth. We don't walk away angry at each other. It's a really bizarre concept. It goes against everything that we are. It really does. Everybody yearns for understanding. Everybody yearns for connection. Whether you've been addicted to drugs or you haven't. The difference is that people who are not drug addicts usually are really set on that whole connection thing. We struggle to do that. That's something that, and it's the reason that the opposite of addiction is connection. Because when we're in the life, you're not connected to anything or anybody. Kind of like being canceled. Right? Nothing you say means anything. You don't feel like you're just sort of an invisible dude or lady. Is lady still cool? Can I say lady? I can say lady, can I? All right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm being a wise guy. But you understand the point? Without connection, everybody suffers to hell. People that have never done drugs, most of all us. This is the kryptonite to relapse. Connection is the reason that there are people that come on here and say, I'm 40 years sober, or I'm 31 years sober. What's keeping those people going that long is because they're connected to so much in this world. There is so much that they're doing that is important to them. It's honestly a fairly beautiful concept. Sadly, it's under attack. So I'll tell you this is my pledge. I'm not getting involved in any of that crap for the rest of the time that I'm on the globe. I don't think you cancel anybody. I don't think you cancel people that hate me. I don't think you cancel the people that tried to cancel me. Even if your stance is stupid, you still got a right to say it. And there are tons of stupid stances. There are tons of stupid people that say stupid things. I just hope that we're able to retain the ability to say it. Very often, when somebody starts down that road, what keeps them going is a lack of connection. When you start becoming a born-again hater, you start becoming a racist, you start becoming any of those things, you seek out people that are just like you. Trust me on this. You know, federal prison is a really excellent example of all of that. But they tend to gravitate toward one another and hang out with only those people, which makes your entire life an echo chamber. If those people met black people and hung out with them and realized that we really are all the exact same human being, it's funny how far that mentality can swing off. I know people who are addicted to a certain substance who think that anybody that is addicted to the substance I'm on is dirty. Like it's a step down. And I know people who are addicted to opiates who talk the same way about methamphetamine. These are really bizarre times that we live in. We really, as a culture, and I don't mean the boat. Trust and believe I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people that wander onto this thing, not the crew of it. You understand? Please tell me you understand. I'm not talking to you guys. You guys have proved for a very long time that you're colorblind. You guys have proved that it doesn't matter what your name is, how it's spelled, where you come from. You step onto this boat and we treat you like family. It's the exact opposite of the whole cancel thing. It really is. It's real connection. And it's connection through a box. If you had told me this was possible 3 years ago, I would have laughed hysterically. I didn't open up a YouTube channel with this as a goal. Trust and believe I didn't. I'd love to tell you that I did. I knew about this 4 years before it happened. I didn't see any of this happening. I was going to do videos. I would have had very little interaction with anybody on the channel. That wasn't the road that I was going to take this down. I'm really glad that this is the road that you guys took me down. It's a much better plan, and it really has been amazing. The last 8 or 9 days, I think if the lifeboat is around for a long time, the last couple of weeks are going to be a time that I think about forever. I mean, it's been a hell of a few weeks. The number of people that the boat has been able to work with, the number of people that are coming forward with opiate use disorder, it's like every single person below a certain age, your odds of being addicted to something that's got fent in it is just unbelievable. Which is sad, but there's certainly plenty of people to talk to, plenty of people to try to help. It's been a really, really solid 2 weeks. This stuff, I'm not going to do the politic thing. It's just getting worse out there. Make sure you talk to the people that you care about, the people that you love. All right, I'd like to hear some opinions. I'd like to connect. Tell me what you think about cancel culture. And you don't have to agree with me, by the way. You can tell me there are people that should be canceled. I'd love to have that conversation. I really would. I'm not looking to yell at anybody. I'm not, you know what I mean? I just, we're not connecting enough. If we did, there'd be peace on earth. There really would. We get these images of who people are and what they are because of where they're from, and it never comes out. I've been all over the world, man, and everybody's the same. They really are. Maybe not governments, right? But those aren't people. They're not. They're concepts by people, and not always great. But the people themselves, you go into a coffee shop, any place on the planet, and the people that you run into, and they're usually very, very similar. I started doing auditing videos on my mother's birthday last year. I drank whiskey with her when she was dying from cancer. Good Lord. That had to be hard, my friend. I'm sorry that you lost your mom. Truthfully. That's really tough. I'm going to sound so stupid. Lonnie, I really am. I have no idea what auditing is. And that's embarrassing. But I know the term comes up. I've seen it on videos. I don't know what auditing is. I'm embarrassed to say that. Maybe you could enlighten me. I think it's vital we resist. Interconnectedness is so important. Mutual understanding. Promote. Co-creation and solutions. Yeah, Rebecca, well played. Anybody catch that? Well done. Seriously. Beautiful. Chili Phil, good to see you, my man. Glad that you're here. Chili Phil is working on the third week. Good stuff. Good stuff. People that are being canceled are normally people that have wonderful thoughts, and someone is afraid of that. Charles, beautiful. Another great comment. It's sad, isn't it? It's sad. We went from, I may disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it too. I'm sorry, you said what? It's bizarre to me. Especially you see something like Neil Young. Neil Young is trying to cancel somebody, right? Joni Mitchell is trying to take away someone's right to speak. My God, what happened to the 60s? Absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Cancel culture, nothing new under the sun. Look at Russia and Lenin. Yeah, and there's really something to the phrase, there's nothing new under the sun. Because this all has happened before. Not in my lifetime where I live, to be sure, but it has happened all over the planet. But it's certainly new to this part of the world. What an exciting time to be alive, though. Sorry, you guys know Bottom Tooth? Ever watch Family Guy? Cancel culture would not exist without the plague of social media. Social media is a tool that a lot of people don't know how to use properly. Booyah! Booyah! In a way, hate speech is the only form of speech that needs to be protected. Give that man a gold star. If I come out and I talk about how much I love, insert whatever you want right there. It's really unlikely that anyone's going to have a problem with that at all, right? That's just not how it works. I absolutely could not agree with you more, M. Hunt. The only thing that needs to be defended is hate speech. So everything else is there's no need to defend it. Sweet Bottom Tooth reference. Thank you, Johnny Scoville. I thank you. Thanks to the rolling. Thanks to the rolling sea. Thanks to rolling. Thanks to the rolling sea. King of Women, 23. I have a picture of a comment you wrote once. I actually took a, not a screenshot, like I actually took a picture of it. 1A defendant. 1A defendant. I'm not a smart man. 24 defendant. It's Elvis Presley. Love it. Hopefully someday the woke will finally wake up. Oh, so that was an Elvis reference. I did not get that. Well played. Well played. So one of the when I tell you that I started looking up canceled people, and it literally you can get the top 16 list, you can get the top 25 list, and then there are people that because of what side of the aisle they're on, you just can't cancel them. You can't cancel them if they go out and pull an unbelievable hoax and get caught in the process of the unbelievable hoax while lying about the other side being racist. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, I apologize. It is what it is. The idea of everybody seeing everything exactly at the same time is terrifying. I love that we are different. We just need to learn to live with those differences and celebrate them. Honestly, I remember a time, and I know I'm not 100 years old, but I remember a time when I was a kid that Democrats and Republicans played tennis and golf together. You know, you would have a party at Christmas time, and half of the people at the party would be Democrat. The other half of the people at the party would be Republican. You know, there'd be a few independents and some libertarians, usually partying a little harder than everybody else. The uncancelable. Booyah. There are things on this planet that cannot be canceled. Does not mean they will not continue to try, but there are definitely uncancelable things, and there are uncancelable people. Stand up for this crap, people. For real. You know what? We owe it to everybody on this planet. We really do. There we go. George Gordon, Lord Byron was by one of his many affairs ended by his flight from England when he knocked her up and was part of the writing of Frankenstein. Oh, gotcha. But I still think he was a good writer. Yeah, I'm nothing against him at all as a person or a writer. But definitely, pretty risque for the time. I've been slammed by people of both major parties because I strive to understand other points of view. You know what, Rebecca? You can come in anytime I'm talking about anything. I hope you're there, and feel free to fire back. That goes to anybody, for real. I have no problem at all. there was a time where I had a couple of people that used to like to come on and tell me why they disagreed. It was some of the greatest shows in the world. Unfortunately, that one didn't work out because it was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun. It was sadly, it's just ego is a part of the identity. How you identify demonstrates how it determines how it came how it carried the intellect. The intellect can be sharp, but if you hold a knife wrong, you'll only hurt yourself. This is just an opinion. Thank you, Daniel. I like it, Lemmy. I like it a lot. People can get along if they really want to, says Dennis Brayson. He's right. I've seen it. I've seen it many, many times. I have seen beautiful examples over the course of my life where people just forgot all of that BS, and I think it'll happen again, people. I really do. I look forward to the day where everybody loves one another. Once you get your blue lives, red lives matter flag going, you're just like rainbow trans flags. Not everything needs to be a thing. You know what? I respect the opinion. I really do. Not everything does need to be a thing. And I kind of find it fascinating because there was a time on planet Earth where if you walked up to somebody and said, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Italian, and I like both men and women. I'm bisexual." They would look at you and be like, "Why the hell would you tell me either of those things?" Honestly, why are you telling me your sexual preference and where you're from on the planet? We just have become such a strange society. And now you not only do you do that, but you should probably identify which political party you lean to and whether or not you think the Second Amendment is cool. And you might want to weigh in on abortion, right? Let's get it pared down to the smallest group in the entire world, and they'll just echo chamber each other. That's the biggest problem with this. And there was a great comment about social media. There's just people that don't know how to use it. And I think that that's absolutely the truth. And that's people that sit in front of the camera, and that's people that sit on the, on the other side. And I think, honestly, I think we're pretty blessed. We got a very, very, I'm going to say this in the best sense of the word, right? May sound crazy to some people, but it's a very liberal group, right? We're very accepting of any and all opinions and any and all people. The trouble is liberal doesn't mean that anymore. It used to, right? That's literally what liberal used to mean. That was their entire anyway. The liberals of today. If John F. Kennedy was born today, he'd be a Republican. And I don't mean he'd change ships. I just mean the policies that he had would have made him a pretty heavy duty Republican. I'm sorry, Miss B. I really am. I lost faith in humanity when I worked my last job. It opened my eyes to see how stupid most humans can be while they're intoxicated. Chili Phil, that can be a really, really good thing. Thanks, Johnny. Thank you. Appreciate you. You gotta love your big brother in the house. Yeah, that's not such a bad thing sometimes, Chili Phil. I know a lot of people for whom the exact same thing. Hold on one second. I'm all for the freedom of speech. Doesn't seem to me like everyone is. I'm older. Times have changed, of course. I get it. Just wonder where we go next. It's frightening. The really sad thing is this, and feel free to quote me on this. Right? Feel free to quote me on this. But everything that we do, right, as human beings, everything hinges on that first one, the freedom of speech. Right? The problem with anything, and like M. Hunt said, you have to protect hate speech. It's the only kind of speech that you have to protect. But on top of that, when you start going, you can't do this, you can't do that. The trouble with any of that is that somebody has to be the person to make that rule, right? Or maybe a group of 100 people or a group of 12 people. Whatever it is, what gives anybody the right to lay that down? What gives anybody the right to decide what's funny and what's not? What gives anybody the right to decide what's offensive and what's not? This is the most basic of all rights that we have. Without it, all of the rest are gone. That's my humble opinion. All right, I know I'm not humble. No, I'm just kidding. But that really is my humble opinion. In vino veritas, there is truth in wine. Yeah, there is some truth to that. Wait for it. Remember, you were born a miracle and a gift to the world. You are still that gift and miracle. Wow. Wow. That's a really, really beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Rebecca, I really do. I love that. Dominic, did you change your emoji? I don't think I remember that. Monk. You have the right to remain silent, just not the ability. As a bartender, I got everyone drunk for free. I didn't care who you were. You know what? The probably not a service to humanity, but I like the fact that that you were, even-handed. It's, you know what? We are all the same. It's absolutely bizarre to me that, yeah, it's where we're at. The hardest thing, in my opinion, for most is to realize that we don't hate people. We hate the actions. We wrestle and not against flesh and blood. Wait for it. Great. Absolutely great. You know what? This is fun. I heard about a man who had a bookstore in in BDAD during some, and he was asked about, don't you feel free now? Run your shop. And he said he missed the sense of adventure from before. Good Lord. Good Lord. You know what? Very interesting take. Everybody see that? It's a very interesting take. And I think this is what Johnny was alluding to earlier. The concept that something that happens can touch the entire planet at once. Really. We have a 6.9 magnitude earthquake somewhere in the world, and everybody will hear about it on the same day. We have shrunk the world down to size. It's a really interesting point, Todd, and I think there's probably a lot to that. And it also ties into the earlier comment about social media as well. We've shrunk the world, and we've given everybody on the planet an opportunity to be heard, right? In a way that you never would have before. Even if you were super comfortable with public speaking or anything like that, the odds that 50 to 100 people are going to hear something you say, or a couple of hundred people or whatever. But with the internet, the odds that you're going to reach over the life of the time that's up, it could be thousands and thousands of people. In some cases, it could be millions of people from all over the world that hear the message and read the comments. And very often, we see, there have been people that have been canceled for things that they write in the comment section. But the internet has given everybody an opportunity to speak their mind. Even if they're talking about what the person they're watching is talking about, they can come out with a completely different take. And it's, in some ways, that's such a cool concept. When this whole thing was being designed, when the interweb was being put together by, who? No? Anyway. When the internet was getting put together, these people were talking about the potential for what this thing could do, how it could shrink the world, how it could bring people together so that we could all see that we were exactly the same. And sadly, it's fallen short of the mark. And it's not the system, and it's not the people. It's the people running the system, right? It's really kind of sad. I sit at my dinner table and chat with one of my friends in Russia. Tell me how that would have worked 30 years ago. What another great comment. Yeah, I 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I grew up right in the middle of that. I talk about this. I've done 2 or 3 shows on this, that one of the things that way back in the day was a real stressor for my generation, was the thought that we were not going to get out of, it was just a matter of time before the Russians launched on us. And the Russians, of course, were being told that it was just a matter of time before, we launched on them. And I ended up years later having a chance to go to Russia several times. And I had a chance to meet a lot of people that, they would talk about how our president was a cowboy and he was about to start World War III. And, they just heard a completely different story. But we had the exact same life experience. It's bizarre. It really is. But we're so much more connected. And they hate that. They do. I promise you they do. Where's Johnny Scoville? You know what I'm talking about, Johnny. Now they're using it to try to make people think alike. Yeah, Rebecca, it's a fact. It really is a fact. And they're trying to make them think alike in 3-second increments, right? The way that social media has become now, what we do here is really odd, right? The long form where you sit down and you just sort of banter back and forth is a pretty rare thing. The lifeboat is way better than a cruise to the Caribbean. And Tommy, you're way better than Captain Blackbeard. Thank you so much. That was a very kind thing to say. I appreciate that. I really do. Johnny, good to see you. You're still here. The thing is, he's my brother, so he'll try to snake out the back. You know what I mean? Like he's looking at his. No, he goes live right after I do. And if you guys didn't know that, you should head over there. When when the lifeboat goes off, the bus fires up, and everybody gets on the bus over to Chase the Heat. Pretty cool thing. Been here the whole time. See, he's kind of a big deal, Johnny Scoville. He's probably got somebody sitting and watching. He said your name again. Got to come over here. Yes. Well, you're welcome. So, this, if there's anything that you take away from tonight, it's that if we allow this kind of crap to happen, we're in danger, because the more we're connected, the happier we're going to be as human beings. Certainly, the more sober you're going to remain. That's the absolute key to staying sober, is being connected. It's not a cliche that we say for no reason. The opposite of addiction is absolutely connection. And the opposite of connection is everything that they're doing to us now. We can't let them take us apart. We got to think about the things that unite us all, not the things that divide us all. It doesn't make any sense at all. It really doesn't. Be right over, Johnny. I shall be too, actually. Johnny, you're like Captain Hook from Peter Pan. Yeah, the original Hook was a lost boy who freed himself from Peter's lies. I'll be damned. I did not know that, photographer. I don't know that I've ever even read the original. I really do not. That is, and I've read a lot, but I don't think I ever read the original. I love everyone, but when people attack me, I will defend myself. I don't imagine that anyone expects one to be attacked and not defend oneself. Certainly, I don't. I'm an advocate of defending yourself when you're attacked. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It usually makes people live longer. It's kind of an important thing, and I have no issue with that. But I'll tell you what, I do everything within my power these days to make sure that I'm not in too many positions where I run the risk of getting attacked. And if somebody attacks me verbally, there's no way. You know what I mean? I've learned what happens. As soon as you start to react in any way, as soon as you respond to anything that's BS. I mean, if it's real, you got to go do what you got to do. But if it's BS and you respond to it, you'll be tied up for 6 months with these idiots. It's all they're hoping for. It's how, again, with how social media is, there are people out there who would like to achieve 15 minutes of fame by cutting down someone that's trying to do something, right? There's a whole subculture of those vultures that live on social media. Nice people. Sorry, going through. I fell way behind. A verbal attack, I often choose to lead with silent grace. They are inconsequential. It really depends. If somebody has a legit point, I could see where that would be an issue. if somebody attacks you, you absolutely have a right to defend yourself. I would expect nothing less from anybody. Didn't the TikTok croc take Hook's hand? Oh, see, now we got two of them, and they both know what's going on. I'm completely lost. I hate being lost in literature. I really do. Yeah, there's something to that, King. There really is. There's something to that. I've gotten real good at just pretending they don't exist. Same as when someone is trying to pretend to be someone they are not. I had to go through that recently. It sucked. You know what? I think everybody goes through that once or twice, V. I think everybody goes through that once or twice, and it's never easy. It really isn't. It's never easy. Alrighty, peeps. You know what this means? It means I'm heading over to the bus over on Chase the Heat. Can you see that pose? Look at how cute that cat is. Can you see where her head is? Look at that. She's all curled up in a little ball. Oh, I'm sorry, Katie. You're a good girl. That's a cat in a basket. Yeah. Oh, do it. No? All right, peeps. I'm Captain Tommy Scoble. We will see you on the deck of the lifeboat. God bless. You're a good